You know that feeling when you look at your calendar and see yet another meeting scheduled for the next morning, and you think to yourself, I really wish I had some free time. But then you open your calendar and notice that every single day for the past 2 months has been filled with meetings, and you ask yourself, how did this happen? Well, this is what happens when you have weak habits. You don't realize that it's happening until one day you look up and you find yourself in a position where you're not happy. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to break any bad habit once and for all. And it starts with understanding where bad habits come from. Now, in order to understand where bad habits come from, you first need to understand how habits are formed. We all know that habits are formed through repetition. The more we do something, the more likely it is to become a habit. But what exactly is a habit? A habit is simply a behavior that has become automatic and requires little or no conscious effort to perform. For example, brushing your teeth is a habit. It's a behavior that you don't need to think about. Your brain automatically tells your body to start brushing your teeth. So, how do habits form? Let's take the example of learning the piano. When you first start learning, you have to consciously think about each note that you play. However, with practice, this becomes an unconscious behavior. Your brain automatically knows what notes to play without you having to think about it. So, now let's go back to the example of brushing your teeth. Your brain is constantly trying to make connections between behaviors and outcomes. When you brush your teeth, you're signaling to your brain that you want to improve your oral hygiene. Over time, these connections become stronger, and eventually your brain will automatically start sending signals to your body to start brushing your teeth without you even thinking about it. Now that you understand how habits form, let's take a look at where they come from. Bad habits usually start off as small behaviors that we don't think much about. For example, checking your email every few minutes can start off as just a quick glance, but then it turns into a full-blown habit. So, where do these small behaviors come from? Well, they often stem from our emotions. For example, let's say you feel bored or anxious. You might start checking your email because it makes you feel better. In that moment, it provides a temporary distraction from your emotions. Another common reason for bad habits is a lack of self-awareness. Oftentimes, we don't even realize that we're performing a bad habit until it's already become a problem. For example, you might not realize that you're constantly interrupting people until someone calls you out on it. So, if bad habits stem from emotions and a lack of self-awareness, then the solution is pretty obvious. To break any bad habit, you need to replace the emotion that's driving the habit with a different emotion and develop self-awareness so that you can catch yourself in the act. The next part of breaking any bad habit is to replace the old habit with a new one. You can't just stop a bad habit. You need to replace it with a good habit. So, how do you do this? Well, it starts with identifying the trigger that causes the bad habit. Let's take the example of procrastination. What's the trigger that causes you to procrastinate? Is it boredom? Maybe you're tired or you're just not interested in the task at hand. Whatever the reason, you need to identify the trigger so that you can replace it with a different emotion. Once you've identified the trigger, you need to develop a plan for how you're going to replace the bad habit with a good one. Let's take the example of procrastination. If the trigger is boredom, then you could try to make the task more interesting. Maybe you could turn it into a game or invite a friend to help you. Or maybe you could just break the task down into smaller chunks so that it feels less overwhelming. The key is to find a way to make the good habit more attractive than the bad habit. Let's take a look at how to use this method to break 3 of the most common bad habits: procrastination, overeating, and spending too much time on social media. Let's start with procrastination. Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing tasks that should be done, and it's often caused by a lack of motivation or self-discipline. The first step is to identify the trigger that's causing you to procrastinate. Is it boredom? Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Once you've identified the trigger, you need to develop a plan for how you're going to replace procrastination with a good habit. For example, if boredom is the trigger, then you could try to make your work more interesting. Maybe you could turn it into a game or invite a friend to help you. Now let's move on to overeating. Overeating is when you consume more food than your body needs, and it can lead to weight gain and other health problems. The The first step is to identify the trigger that's causing you to overeat. Is it stress? Maybe you're bored or you're just not hungry. Once you've identified the trigger, you need to develop a plan for how you're going to replace overeating with a good habit. For example, if stress is the trigger, then you could try to find healthy ways to manage your stress, like exercise or meditation. Finally, let's talk about spending too much time on social media. Spending too much time on social media can cause feelings of isolation and inadequacy. The first step is to identify the trigger that's causing you to spend too much time on social media. Is it loneliness? Maybe you're bored or you're just curious. Once you've identified the trigger, you need to develop a plan for how you're going to replace spending too much time on social media with a good habit. For example, if loneliness is the trigger, then you could try to spend time with friends or family instead. Now you have the tools you need to break any bad habit. Remember to be patient with yourself. It takes time to form new habits, but with persistence, you can replace bad habits with good ones and achieve your goals. Here are 3 bonus tips to help you on your journey to breaking bad habits. First, find an accountability partner. This is someone who will support you and keep you on track. Second, reward yourself for your progress. This will help you stay motivated. And third, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are many resources available to help you break bad habits and form good ones. Don't hesitate to reach out for support. Bad habits can hold us back from achieving our goals and living the life we want. But by understanding how habits are formed, developing self-awareness, replacing bad habits with good ones, and being patient with ourselves, we can break free from the grip of bad habits and create a better future for ourselves. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos on personal development and productivity. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.